Get your terrorist ass out of my store before I call Homeland Security. The venom in the words cut through the air of the upscale Vera Montreux Couture flagship store. Ethan Cross's palm connected with Amina Rahman's cheek in a sharp crack that made 50 shoppers gasp and freeze mid-step. Cell phones emerged from purses and pockets like weapons drawn in unison. Children stared, wide-eyed, as their mothers pulled them closer. The security cameras blinked red overhead, capturing every second of the assault. Amina stood motionless, her hand slowly rising to touch the burning skin on her face. Her long, dove-gray hijab was still neatly wrapped, her tailored blazer perfectly pressed. Her leather briefcase never left her grip. Not a single word escaped her lips, but something dangerous flickered behind her eyes. The crowd held its collective breath, waiting for her next move. Have you ever witnessed someone make a mistake so catastrophic that you knew their world was about to crumble? 10 minutes earlier, Amina Rahman had walked into Vera Montreux Couture with one simple goal: return a defective $3,200 handbag and speak with corporate about the store's quality control issues. She'd purchased the Italian leather piece 3 days ago, only to discover a broken zipper and loose stitching that screamed poor craftsmanship. The store's Park Avenue flagship location buzzed with Saturday afternoon energy. Wealthy shoppers drifted between racks of designer clothing while associates hovered nearby, eager to assist. The marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers and soft French jazz floated through hidden speakers. Amina approached the customer service counter, where a young associate with perfectly styled blonde hair looked up with practiced politeness. "How may I help you today? I need to return this handbag and speak with your manager about a quality issue." Amina placed the designer bag on the counter, her voice calm and professional. The associate's smile faltered as she examined the receipt. "Oh, well, returns on luxury items require manager approval." Her tone cooled, her eyes flicking over Amina's headscarf. "But he's very busy right now." "I'll wait," Amina replied evenly. 20 minutes passed. Amina watched as other customers received immediate attention while she remained ignored. A blonde woman with a similar return was processed within 5 minutes. Another was given a full refund plus store credit for her inconvenience. Finally, Ethan Cross emerged from the back office, 38 years old, with slicked back hair and an expensive suit that couldn't hide the cheap cologne clinging to him. Before we proceed further, I want to take a moment to invite you to be part of something bigger than just this story. If what you've heard so far has made you feel, think, or reflect, even for a moment, then hit that like button so more people can discover voices like these. Subscribe to Muslim Stories Unheard so you never miss the next untold truth waiting to be heard. And if you've lived through moments of bias, resilience, faith, or triumph, or even witnessed them, share your experience in the comments. Let's get back to our story. He surveyed Amina with undisguised disdain. What seems to be the problem here? He didn't make eye contact, instead glaring at the handbag like it personally offended him. "I purchased this 3 days ago. The craftsmanship is subpar for a luxury item. I'd like to return it and discuss this quality issue with your corporate office." Ethan's laugh was sharp and condescending. "Lady, you probably busted this yourself stuffing God knows what in it. We don't take back merchandise customers have abused." Amina's phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a reminder: board meeting, 2:30 p.m. She had exactly 10 minutes to wrap this up and get to the corporate office 6 blocks away. "Sir, I haven't damaged anything. The stitching was already loose when I purchased it. Your quality control?" Ethan sneered. "My quality control?" He stepped closer, his voice rising. "Listen here. We don't cater to people who buy expensive things they can't afford and then try to return them when they've changed their mind. Maybe your little community tolerates that kind of thing, but we don't." Other shoppers began to notice the commotion. A few pulled out their phones, sensing drama. Amina remained perfectly composed, her professional demeanor intact despite the sting of the insult. "I can afford this handbag, sir. I simply expect quality for the price I paid." "Sure you can." Ethan's eyes swept over her dismissively, lingering on her hijab. "Let me guess, maxed out credit cards? Trying to impress someone at your mosque? We see your type all the time." The crowd thickened. A fashion blogger named Maya Lewis started an Instagram livestream, whispering to her 12,000 followers, You guys, something insane is happening at Vera Montreux Couture right now. This manager is being totally Islamophobic to this woman. Comments poured in immediately. What's happening? This is disgusting. Get his name. Record everything. Amina checked her Rolex, a custom gold piece worth more than Ethan's monthly salary. I need to speak with your corporate office. Now. Corporate. Ethan laughed louder. You think they care about some random customer complaint? They pay me to handle problems like you. He crossed his arms and deliberately blocked her path to the customer service counter. Two associates, Claire and Derek, flanked him like backup dancers, their faces showing discomfort but no willingness to intervene. Problems like me? Amina's voice stayed even, but something cold slid into her tone. Yeah, people who think they deserve special treatment just because they walk into an upscale store. This isn't some flea market. We have standards here. Maya's livestream hit 8,000 concurrent viewers. The comment section exploded. Fire him. What's the store manager's name? It's 2025 and this is still happening. Screen record this, everyone. Another shopper, a white woman in her 60s, spoke up. Excuse me, young man, but you're being very rude to this customer. Ethan spun around. Ma'am, please don't interfere. This woman is trying to scam us. Scam you. Amina's Platinum American Express Centurion card was briefly visible as she adjusted her grip on her briefcase. The black metal card, with its distinctive design, was unmistakable to anyone familiar with luxury spending. Only customers who charged over $200,000 annually received invitations for the exclusive card. But Ethan either didn't notice or didn't understand its significance. Yeah, scam. Buying expensive items, damaging them, then demanding refunds. We see it all the time with. He paused, his eyes narrowing on her hijab. People like you. The Islamophobic undertone wasn't subtle anymore. It hung in the air like toxic gas. Maya's stream reached 15,000 viewers. Screenshots were already hitting X, formerly Twitter. TikTok users began posting their own clips from different angles. Amina's phone buzzed again. Urgent board meeting moved to 2:45 p.m. She had 5 minutes. Sir, I'm going to ask one more time. Please process my return and connect me with your corporate office. And I'm going to tell you one more time. No. Ethan stepped even closer, his cologne mixing with the sharp scent of fresh leather from the display shelves, invading her personal space. Maybe you should shop somewhere more appropriate to your lifestyle. The crowd gasped. This was no longer about a handbag return. This was about dignity, respect, and the ugly reality of anti-Muslim prejudice that still festered in upscale retail. Amina remained perfectly still, her dark eyes studying Ethan's face as though she were committing every detail to memory. The designer briefcase in her hand seemed heavier now, full of secrets that could change everything. But Ethan Cross had no idea what storm he was about to unleash. The tension in Vera Montreux Couture thickened like fog rolling in from the harbor. What had started as a simple return had transformed into a public spectacle, drawing customers from every corner of the 3-story flagship store. Regional manager Lydia Parker received the emergency call while reviewing quarterly reports in her Midtown office. Ma'am, we have a situation at Store 47. The manager, there's a confrontation with a customer. It's going viral on social media. Lydia Parker's stomach dropped. Store 47 was their crown jewel, the Park Avenue flagship that generated $15 million annually. I'll be right there. Meanwhile, Ethan's aggression escalated. Security, he barked, his voice echoing through the marble-floored store. We need this woman removed immediately. 2 security guards approached cautiously. Marcus Bell, a veteran who'd worked retail security for 15 years, hesitated when he saw Amina's composed demeanor. Something about her calm presence in the face of such hostility struck him as unusual. Sir, what's the situation? Marcus asked, his trained eyes sweeping the scene. This woman is causing a disturbance. She's trying to return damaged merchandise and making threats when we refused. And now she's getting. Ethan's gaze flicked deliberately toward her hijab. Agitated. Amina's eyebrow lifted slightly, the first crack in her perfect composure. Threats? I haven't threatened anyone. The crowd murmured in agreement. Maya's Instagram livestream had exploded to 25,000 viewers, with comments flying so fast they were barely readable. She's not threatening anyone. This manager is lying. Someone call the news. Get his name and fire him. A TikTok thread by NYC Fashion Watch was gaining traction. Thread: witnessing blatant Islamophobia at Vera Montreux Couture's Park Avenue flagship. Store manager Ethan Cross just slapped a Muslim customer who was trying to return a defective handbag. This is 2025. This is unacceptable. Hashtag Vera Montreux Islamophobia. The post already had 500 shares and climbing. Lydia Parker burst through the store entrance, her heels clicking rapidly against the marble as she surveyed the crowd. 80 people now surrounded the customer service area, phones held high like torches at a rally. What exactly is going on here? Lydia demanded, her authoritative voice slicing through the murmur. Ethan straightened his tie, suddenly confident again. Lydia, thank God you're here. This woman became belligerent when we refused her fraudulent return. She threatened me and our associates. Lydia's eyes swept the crowd, taking in the dozens of recording devices aimed like lenses of judgment. Her public relations training kicked in instantly. Whatever had happened here would be dissected across social media within the hour. Ma'am, Lydia addressed Amina with measured courtesy. I apologize for any confusion. I'm Lydia Parker, regional manager. Perhaps we can resolve the situation quietly in my office, Lydia suggested, her tone carefully measured. There's nothing to resolve quietly, Amina replied, her voice carrying clearly across the silent store. Your manager just physically assaulted me in front of 50 witnesses. This isn't a customer service issue anymore. The word assaulted sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. Several people pressed closer, straining to catch every word. Now wait just a minute, Ethan interjected, his face reddening. She's exaggerating everything. I barely touched her, and only because she was becoming aggressive. I have video evidence that says otherwise, Maya called out from the crowd, holding up her phone. 25,000 people just watched you slap this woman for asking to return a handbag. Lydia's pulse quickened. 25,000 witnesses to a potential assault. The legal exposure alone could destroy careers. Sir, Marcus, the security guard, said quietly to Ethan, maybe we should step back and let management handle this. But Ethan was too far down the rabbit hole to stop digging. No, I'm not going to let some entitled customer come in here and disrupt my store. She probably bought this handbag at some flea market overseas and is trying to pass it off here for full price. The accusation landed like a bomb in the room. Amina's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around her briefcase handle. Mr. Cross, Lydia hissed under her breath. Please stop talking. But Ethan's voice only grew louder, feeding off the gathering crowd. You want to know the truth? People like her think they can intimidate us with social media and fake outrage. Well, I've got news for you. This is private property, and I have every right to refuse service to anyone. A woman in the crowd shouted back, You can't refuse service because she's Muslim. Who said anything about her being Muslim? Ethan shot back, the defensive edge in his tone betraying his guilt. This is about behavior, about respect, about knowing your place. The phrase knowing your place sent a collective gasp through the crowd. Even Lydia closed her eyes in despair, knowing that those words would be headline news before the hour was over. Amina checked her watch again. The board meeting had started without her, but something told her this was more important than quarterly reports. My place? She repeated, her voice so quiet that people strained to hear. And where exactly do you think my place is, Mr. Cross? Look, lady, I don't know what game you're playing, but... It's not a game, Amina interrupted softly, her tone absolute. And I suggest you be very careful with your next words. The crowd sensed the energy shift. Something fundamental had changed between the two of them, though no one could quite articulate what. A local news blogger in the crowd recognized the viral potential and started her own live stream. This is Sarah Martinez from New York City Street Beat, she whispered urgently to her camera. And I'm witnessing what might be the customer service disaster of the year at Vera Montreux Couture. Back at corporate, the communications team was already fielding calls. Stock prices for Ramon Luxury Group, Vera Montreux's parent company, began their first tiny downtick as algorithmic trading programs detected the wave of negative sentiment online. Ethan, oblivious to the much larger forces gathering against him, pressed on. You people come in here with your attitudes, demanding special treatment, thinking the world owes you something. Well, I've got news for you, it doesn't. Lydia Parker knew, in that moment, her career might be over. In retail management, viral Islamophobia scandals were career killers. Lydia knew she had to salvage what she could. Mr. Cross, you're suspended effective immediately. Please go to the back office. Suspended? Ethan's voice cracked. For what? For doing my job. For maintaining standards. For assaulting a customer, Lydia snapped, her composure finally breaking. The crowd erupted in approval. But Amina remained perfectly still, watching the chaos unfold around her as though she were studying an intricate experiment. Her phone buzzed with a text from her assistant. Emergency board meeting postponed. Social media crisis developing. Need you ASAP. Amina glanced at the message, then at Ethan Cross's increasingly panicked face, then at the 80 people recording every second of his professional collapse. A small smile touched the corners of her mouth, the first visible emotion she'd shown since stepping into the store 30 minutes ago. Mr. Cross, she said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent store. I think it's time we had a proper conversation about standards. The silence in Vera Montreux Couture was absolute. 80 people held their breath as Amina Rahman slowly opened her designer briefcase with the deliberate precision of a surgeon preparing for a critical operation. Ethan's confidence wavered for the first time. Something about her movements, too controlled, too purposeful, sent warning signals pulsing through his nervous system. Lydia stepped closer, her regional manager instincts telling her that this was about to take an unexpected turn. Standards, Amina repeated, her voice ringing through the marble-floored space like a judge delivering a sentence. Let's discuss standards, Mr. Cross. From her briefcase, she withdrew a leather portfolio embossed with gold lettering. The crowd leaned in, phones angled high to capture whatever revelation was coming. Do you know what real standards look like? Amina asked, opening the portfolio to reveal official corporate documents. They look like quarterly performance reports showing that store 47 ranks in the bottom 15% for customer satisfaction. Ethan's face drained of color. Where did you get those? They also look like formal Islamophobia complaints filed against this location. She turned a page, her voice growing stronger. 14 formal complaints in the past 6 months, all from Muslim customers, all dismissed by management. Lydia Parker's legs nearly gave out. Those complaints were confidential corporate documents, accessible only to senior executives and legal teams. They look, Amina continued, like employment lawsuits waiting to happen. Another page turned. Sexual harassment settlements, workers' compensation claims denied. OSHA violations quietly swept under the rug. The crowd murmured in shock. Maya's Instagram Live had reached 45,000 viewers, the comments section exploding. How does she have those documents? Who is she? This is insane. Ethan's voice cracked. You can't have access to those files. Those are private company documents. Amina looked up from the portfolio, her dark eyes meeting his for the first time since he'd slapped her. You're absolutely right, Mr. Cross. They are private company documents. She reached into her briefcase again, this time withdrawing a business card holder made of platinum and ebony. The crowd watched in fascination as she selected a single card and held it between 2 fingers. I'm Amina Rahman, she announced, her voice cutting through the silence like a bell. Chief Executive Officer of Rahman Luxury Group. The card fluttered to the marble floor between them like a white flag of surrender. The reaction was instantaneous and explosive. Gasps echoed through the store. Phones nearly dropped from shocked hands. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Oh my God," and it rippled through the audience like a prayer. Ethan's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. His eyes darted from the business card to Amina's face to Lydia Parker, who looked like she might faint. Rahman Luxury Group, the parent company that owned Vera Montreux Couture, the conglomerate controlling 847 luxury retail stores across North America. The corporation whose CEO he had just physically assaulted in front of 80 witnesses and 50,000 live stream viewers. That's impossible, Ethan stammered. You can't be the woman I. The woman you implied doesn't belong here? Amina's voice was perfectly calm. The woman whose place you thought you knew. The woman you physically assaulted for trying to return a defective product in a store I own. Lydia's corporate instincts kicked in, and she immediately dropped to one knee to retrieve the business card. Her hands shook as she read the embossed text. Amina Rahman, Chief Executive Officer, Rahman Luxury Group. The logo was identical to the one on Lydia's own corporate handbook. Ms. Rahman, Lydia whispered, her career flashing before her eyes. I had no idea. If you had known. Amina's voice was razor-sharp. If you had known, you would have treated me differently? The question cut through Lydia like a blade. So the only reason to treat customers with dignity is if they might be your boss? The philosophical weight of the question hung in the air. The crowd recognized the deeper truth. Respect shouldn't depend on someone's position, wealth, or religion. Ethan's survival instincts finally kicked in. Ms. Rahman, this is all a huge misunderstanding. I would never. I didn't know. You didn't know what exactly? Amina's tone was deadly quiet. You didn't know that Muslim women deserve basic human dignity. You didn't know that assault is illegal, regardless of someone's net worth. Sarah Martinez from New York City Street Beat whispered urgently into her phone. This is unprecedented. The CEO of a major corporation was just assaulted by her own employee. This is going to be international news. Meanwhile, the corporate communications team at Rahman Luxury Group headquarters was in full crisis mode. Emergency conference calls were underway. Stock analysts were being briefed. Legal teams were being mobilized. The livestream audience had exploded to over 100,000 across multiple platforms. Hashtag Vera Montreux scandal was trending nationally. News outlets were already drafting breaking news alerts. Amina reached into her briefcase one final time, withdrawing a sleek tablet displaying real-time social media analytics and stock price movements. In the past 30 minutes, she announced to the crowd, Rahman Luxury Group's stock has dropped 12%. Our market capitalization has decreased by $2.8 billion. Our brand reputation score has fallen to critical levels. Ethan's knees buckled. $2.8 billion. The number was so astronomical his brain couldn't process it. But that's not the most interesting part, Amina continued, her fingers swiping across the tablet. The most interesting part is that this incident is being broadcast live to 127,000 people across 6 different platforms. It's already been shared over 15,000 times on Twitter. Local news crews are on their way. She turned the tablet toward the crowd so they could see the digital firestorm in real time. Comments flooded in faster than the human eye could read. Fire everyone involved. Boycott Vera Montreux. Sue them for everything. This CEO is a queen. Mr. Cross, Amina said, her voice slicing through the digital chaos. Do you understand what you've done? You didn't just slap a customer. You didn't just assault a Muslim woman. You committed a felony against the CEO of your parent company, in front of 100,000 witnesses. The legal implications hit Ethan like a freight train. Assault charges, religious discrimination violations, wrongful termination lawsuits. His career, his reputation, his entire life was crumbling in real time. But Amina wasn't finished. Ms. Parker, she said, addressing the regional manager still kneeling on the marble floor, clutching the platinum-embossed business card like a death warrant. How long have you been aware of the Islamophobia complaints against this store? Lydia's mouth opened, but no words came. Every possible answer was a potential confession. 6 months. A year? Longer. Amina's questions came like precision strikes. How many Muslim customers have been profiled or mistreated while you looked the other way? How many employees have been harassed while you protected the harassers? The crowd watched the corporate hierarchy collapse like a row of dominoes. First Ethan, now Lydia. The systemic nature of the prejudice was becoming undeniable. Marcus, the security guard, stepped forward. Ms. Rahman, for what it's worth. I've seen this pattern before. Good customers treated badly, just because of how they look. I've wanted to speak up, but you were afraid for your job, Amina finished. Her tone softened slightly. I understand, Marcus. That's exactly the culture we're going to change. She closed the tablet and placed it back in her briefcase with the same meticulous care she'd shown when revealing it. The crowd remained riveted as Amina pulled out her phone. The device was unlike anything they'd seen, custom-made with corporate security encryption and direct executive network access. "Maria," she spoke into the phone, her voice carrying through the tense silence. "It's Amina. Yes, I'm still at store 47. No, the board meeting is the least of our concerns right now." The crowd leaned in, straining to hear the conversation that would decide the fate of everyone involved. "I need you to patch me through to legal immediately," Amina said into the phone, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable authority. "We have a code red situation. Employee assault on corporate leadership. Yes, you heard me correctly. Full documentation required. Media containment protocols. And Maria, cancel all meetings for the rest of the day. We're going to be here for a while." She ended the call and looked directly at Ethan, whose face had turned the color of paper. "Mr. Cross, in approximately 10 minutes, my legal team will arrive. They'll be accompanied by NYPD officers, who will take your statement regarding the assault you just committed. You have until they arrive to decide how you want to handle this." Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. What are you saying?" "I'm saying you have two choices," Amina replied, her tone all business, cool, final, unshakable. "Choice 1, you cooperate fully with the investigation, admit to your actions, submit to immediate termination, and hope your cooperation influences the criminal charges you're facing." The word criminal rippled through the crowd like an electric current. This had gone far beyond a customer service dispute. It was now felony territory. "Choice 2, Amina continued. "You continue to deny and deflect, forcing us to prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law. Assault and battery, religious discrimination, civil rights violations, and, given your comments, possible hate crime charges." Lydia Parker finally found her voice. "Ms. Rahman, surely we can resolve this internally." Amina's gaze cut to Lydia like a scalpel. "Ms. Parker, you were present when your employee assaulted me. You witnessed the Islamophobic remarks. You've had knowledge of systemic discrimination complaints that were ignored. You are not in a position to negotiate anything." The brutal reality of corporate accountability was unfolding in real time. These weren't just HR infractions. They were criminal matters that could destroy careers and lead to prison sentences. Ethan sank into a nearby chair, the weight of his actions finally crushing his defiance. I need a lawyer." "That's probably wise," Amina agreed. "But understand this. Your assault was witnessed by over 100,000 people and recorded from multiple angles. The evidence is overwhelming. Your only choice now," Amina said evenly, "is how much additional damage you want to inflict on yourself." The store had become a crime scene, a courtroom, and a corporate boardroom all at once. And Amina Rahman stood at the center of it, no longer the target of Islamophobic discrimination, but the architect of justice. 10 minutes later, the Park Avenue flagship had transformed into a corporate war room. Amina's legal team arrived like a precision strike unit. 3 attorneys in charcoal suits, their briefcases worth more than Ethan's monthly salary. Behind them, 2 NYPD officers entered with the measured authority of professionals who had seen every variety of human stupidity imaginable. The crowd inside had swelled to over 120 people, with more gathering outside the tall glass windows. Maya's Instagram Live peaked at 180,000 concurrent viewers, while news vans from Channel 7 and Fox 5 pulled to the curb. Detective Sarah Chun, a 15-year veteran with a history of handling high-profile cases, approached Amina with professional courtesy. "Ms. Rahman, I'm Detective Chun. We understand there's been an assault." "Yes, Detective," Amina replied calmly. "At approximately 2:15 p.m., Mr. Cross physically struck me across the face after making Islamophobic statements. The entire incident was recorded by multiple witnesses." Her composure was remarkable. She spoke as though she were delivering a quarterly report rather than describing a violent crime committed against her. Attorney Marcus Sterling stepped forward, his voice commanding the room. "Detective, we have comprehensive documentation. Video from at least 6 different angles, including store security footage, audio recordings capturing the discriminatory remarks, and over 100 witnesses ready to give statements." Ethan Cross sat in a corner chair like a broken marionette, his once crisp suit wrinkled, his face pale. The lawyer he'd frantically called was still stuck in traffic, leaving him to face this corporate firing squad alone. Detective Chun pulled out her department-issued tablet and began taking notes. "Mr. Cross, I need to inform you of your rights." "Wait," Ethan interrupted, his voice cracking. Before we go down that road, can I speak with Ms. Rahman, please?" All eyes turned to Amina. Sterling gave the faintest shake of his head, a silent warning against giving the perpetrator any private audience. "You have 2 minutes," Amina said, "and Detective Chun stays within earshot." Ethan struggled to his feet, his hands trembling. "Ms. Rahman, I made a terrible mistake. I know I can't take back what I did, but I want you to know I'm not. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to be Islamophobic?" Amina's question sliced through his fumbling apology. "Or, you didn't mean to get caught being Islamophobic?" The distinction was surgical. Intent versus consequence, character versus circumstance. I don't know," Ethan admitted, tears beginning to form in his eyes. I think I've been angry for so long that I stopped seeing people as people. My wife left me last year. My kids don't speak to me. I've been passed over for promotion 3 times, and I took it out on customers who couldn't fight back." The confession was raw, unraveling in front of hundreds of witnesses and hundreds of thousands online. "So you targeted Muslim customers because you thought we were easy victims." Amina's voice remained calm, but her words carried the weight of generations of prejudice and injustice. Yes, I think I did, and I hate myself for it." The honesty was unexpected, but Amina had spent enough years in corporate leadership to recognize manipulation disguised as vulnerability. "Mr. Cross, your personal problems don't excuse assault. Your career disappointments don't justify religious discrimination. And your tears don't undo the damage you've caused to countless customers over the years." She gestured to her tablet, which now displayed real-time analytics. "In the past hour, we've received 847 emails from customers sharing their experiences at this store. Stories of humiliation, profiling, and blatant disrespect. Your behavior wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern." Attorney Sterling stepped forward, handing Amina a thick folder. "Ms. Rahman, we've compiled the financial and operational data you requested. It's all here." Amina opened the folder, scanning the figures before turning to address the crowd with the poise of a prosecutor presenting her case. "Store 47 generates $15.2 million in annual revenue," she announced, her voice carrying over the silent onlookers. "However, when we factor in the costs of discrimination claims, lawsuit settlements, employee turnover, and lost customer loyalty, the net profitability drops to $2.1 million. Lydia Parker, who had been silent since the attorneys arrived, suddenly understood the implications. Store 47 was profitable, but only on paper. Any significant legal settlement could push it into the red. "Furthermore," Amina continued, "our brand reputation analysis shows that this single incident has already cost us $47 million in lost market value. Social media sentiment has fallen to critical levels. 3 major corporate clients have already canceled contracts pending investigation." The numbers were staggering. Ethan Cross's moment of Islamophobic violence had caused more financial damage than some natural disasters. Detective Chin stepped forward. "Mr. Cross, based on the evidence and witness statements, I'm placing you under arrest for assault in the 3rd degree. You have the right to remain silent." "Wait." Ethan's voice cracked with desperation. "Ms. Rahman, please. I'll do anything. I'll resign. I'll make a public apology. I'll donate money to charity. Please don't let this destroy my entire life." Amina studied his face for a long moment. The crowd held its breath, waiting to see if mercy would triumph over justice. "Mr. Cross, you're asking me to show you compassion you've never shown to anyone who looked like me," she said evenly. "You're begging for forgiveness from someone you physically assaulted for nothing more than wearing a hijab. Do you understand the irony?" She closed the folder and handed it back to Sterling. "But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer you something you've never offered your victims, a choice." The crowd leaned in, sensing a pivotal moment. "Choice 1, you submit to arrest, face criminal charges, and we pursue civil litigation for damages. Your name becomes synonymous with corporate Islamophobia. Your career in retail is over. Your family lives under public shame for years. Ethan's shoulders sagged under the weight of the consequences. Choice 2. You agree to become a case study for our new corporate reform initiative. You commit to 200 hours of religious and cultural bias training. You make public appearances speaking about the cost of discrimination. And you work with our legal team to identify and eliminate systemic Islamophobia across our company. The unexpected offer sent murmurs rippling through the crowd. This wasn't about revenge. It was about transformation. In exchange, Amina continued, we reduce the charges to a misdemeanor. You avoid jail time, and you have a chance to rebuild your life around something meaningful. Sterling looked genuinely surprised. This wasn't the scorched earth approach most corporate leaders would take. However, Amina's voice hardened. If you violate any terms of this agreement, if you speak negatively about this process, or if you ever again discriminate against another human being, we will release every piece of evidence we have and pursue maximum penalties. Ethan wiped tears from his eyes. Why? Why would you give me a second chance after what I did? Because punishment without education doesn't change behavior, Amina replied. And because real-life stories like yours, stories of people who chose to change, have more power than criminal convictions to prevent future discrimination. She turned to address the entire crowd, her voice carrying clearly to the more than 200,000 people now watching across multiple platforms. This isn't about forgiveness. This isn't about being the bigger person. This is about understanding that systemic change requires systematic solutions. Destroying one Islamophobic manager doesn't eliminate Islamophobia. But transforming one Islamophobic manager might prevent 10 future incidents. The crowd erupted in applause. Comments flooded the live stream. This woman is brilliant. Education over incarceration. Real change needs real solutions. Detective Chin looked to Amina for confirmation. Ms. Rahman, are you willing to modify the charges if Mr. Cross agrees to these terms? I am, Amina said. But I want his agreement on record, witnessed by everyone here. Ethan looked around at the cameras, the crowd, the lawyers, the police. His entire life had collapsed in 90 minutes, but he was being offered a narrow path to redemption. I agree, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I agree to all terms. Sterling handed him a tablet with a legal agreement already prepared. Sign here, Mr. Cross, and understand this document is legally binding. As Ethan signed his name, Amina turned her attention to Lydia Parker, who had stood frozen throughout the entire exchange. Ms. Parker, Amina said, you have a choice to make as well, but unlike Mr. Cross, you don't get to negotiate terms. The regional manager's career hung in the balance, waiting for judgment from the woman whose authority she had failed to recognize until it was too late. The corporate restructuring began immediately. Within 2 hours, Amina Rahman had transformed Store 47 from a symbol of retail Islamophobia into ground zero for systemic change across the Rahman luxury group empire. Lydia Parker now stood before Amina like a defendant awaiting sentencing, her 15-year career teetering on the edge, with her corporate handbook offering no guidance for this unprecedented moment. Ms. Parker, Amina began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had built a Fortune 500 company from nothing. You supervised a store with 14 Islamophobia-related complaints in 6 months. You failed to address systemic bias. You enabled a culture of discrimination through willful ignorance. Lydia's mouth went dry. Around them, the crowd kept recording, knowing they were witnessing corporate justice in real time. However, Amina continued, firing you would be the easy solution. It would make headlines, satisfy social media outrage, and change absolutely nothing about the underlying problems. She gestured to her legal team, who produced another thick folder of documentation. Instead, you're being reassigned. Effective immediately, you will oversee our new Cultural Inclusion and Equity Implementation Division. Your job will be to identify and eliminate discriminatory practices across all 847 stores. Your performance will be measured by customer satisfaction scores from Muslim and other marginalized communities. It was poetic justice, forcing Lydia to solve the very problems she had ignored. You'll work directly with Dr. C. Kesha Washington, our new Chief Diversity Officer, who starts Monday. Your first project is developing the Lux Respect customer feedback system, a direct pipeline from customers to corporate that bypasses store management entirely. Marcus Sterling handed Lydia a tablet displaying the system's specifications. The app launches in 30 days. Customers can report discrimination in real time, with automatic escalation to executive leadership. Every complaint receives a response within 24 hours. The crowd murmured in approval. This wasn't just punishment, it was prevention. Furthermore, Amina announced to the entire store, "We're implementing immediate changes across all Ramon Luxury Group properties. Starting tomorrow, every store will display new signage. All customers deserve dignity, respect, and excellent service. Period. Report discrimination directly to corporate via the Lux Respect app." Maya's livestream continued, now reaching 250,000 viewers across platforms. Comments flooded in. Systemic change. This is how you fight Islamophobia. Education over elimination. Amina turned to Marcus, the security guard who had shown integrity throughout the crisis. "Marcus, I'd like to offer you a position in our new customer experience division. Your job will be training security personnel across all our stores in bias recognition and de-escalation techniques." Marcus's eyes widened. "Ma'am, yes. Absolutely yes." The promotion sent applause rippling through the crowd, rewarding integrity while punishing prejudice. "The changes don't stop there," Amina continued, consulting her tablet. "We're establishing a $25 million customer dignity fund to compensate anyone who has experienced discrimination at our stores. Claims will be reviewed by an independent panel led by civil rights attorneys." She swiped to another screen. "We're also implementing mandatory bias and cultural competency training for all 15,000 employees." "Not a single-day seminar," Amina continued, "but ongoing education programs developed in partnership with the NAAP, the Anti-Defamation League, and the Council on American Islamic Relations." The financial commitment was staggering, but Amina knew real change required real investment. "Additionally, we're diversifying our supply chain. Within 18 months, 40% of our vendor contracts will be with minority and Muslim-owned businesses. We're not just changing how we treat customers, we're changing who we do business with." Attorney Sterling stepped forward with the final documentation. Store 47 will close for 1 week, while all staff undergo intensive retraining. When it reopens, it will serve as our flagship diversity, equity, and inclusion showcase location. The irony was perfect. The store that had been a symbol of corporate Islamophobia would become a model for corporate reform. Amina's phone buzzed with updates from corporate headquarters. "Our stock price has recovered 8% in the past hour. Social media sentiment is shifting from outrage to optimism. This is what happens when companies choose transformation over damage control." She looked around the store at the 120 people who had witnessed this corporate revolution. "Real-life incidents like what happened here today don't have to end in destruction," she said. "They can end in construction, building better systems, better training, better cultures." Ethan Cross, still processing his dramatic fall and unexpected opportunity for redemption, approached Amina one final time. "Ms. Ramon, I know I don't deserve this chance, but I promise you, I will spend every day proving that people can change." "Mr. Cross," Amina replied, "I'm not giving you this opportunity because you deserve it. I'm giving it to you because other customers deserve better. Your transformation isn't about your redemption. It's about their protection." The distinction was crucial. This wasn't about forgiveness. It was about prevention. As the crowd began to disperse, Amina's assistant arrived with fresh clothes and a waiting car. The CEO needed to return to corporate headquarters to oversee the rollout of reforms that would affect nearly 1 million customers across 3 countries. But first, she faced the cameras still broadcasting live. Today proved that stories of discrimination don't have to remain just stories. They can become catalysts for real change. Muslim stories, Black stories, all stories of injustice matter when they inspire systemic transformation. The revolution is only beginning. 6 months later, the transformation was undeniable. Store 47 had become a pilgrimage site for retail executives studying corporate reform. The Lux Respect app boasted over 2 million downloads and a 4.9-star rating, with customer satisfaction scores up 67% across all Ramon Luxury Group properties. Ethan Kross stood before a packed auditorium at Harvard Business School, speaking as part of Amina's corporate accountability program. His 200 hours of cultural and religious bias training had evolved into a full-time mission, giving talks at universities, corporations, and community centers about the real cost of discrimination. "I was a middle manager who thought power meant putting people down," he told the audience of future business leaders. "I learned that real power means lifting people up. That's not just good ethics, it's good business." The Ethan Kross who had slapped Amina, Ramon, no longer existed. In his place stood a man whose story now included redemption, education, and purpose. Lydia Parker had exceeded every inclusion metric in her new role. The systemic changes she implemented led to an 89% reduction in discrimination complaints across the chain. Her quarterly reports became case studies in effective corporate reform. Marcus Bell now led a team of 200 security professionals trained in bias recognition and customer dignity protocols. His frontline experiences shaped policies that protected millions of customers. The ripple effects spread far beyond Ramon Luxury Group. 12 major retailers implemented similar apps and training programs. The Lux model became the gold standard for addressing workplace discrimination in corporate America. And Amina Ramon graced the cover of Time magazine as CEO of the Year. But she knew the real victory wasn't personal recognition, it was systemic change. Muslim stories like hers were no longer isolated incidents, but catalysts for industry-wide transformation. The financial results spoke loudest to corporate boardrooms everywhere. Ramon Luxury Group stock had reached all-time highs. Customer loyalty among Muslim and other diverse communities increased 156%. Employee retention soared as workers felt empowered to speak up against discrimination without fear of retaliation. The most powerful stories aren't about individual triumph. Amina explained during her TED Talk that garnered 15 million views. They're about how individual courage can inspire collective change. When we share our life stories, especially the difficult ones, we give others permission to demand better. The incident that began with a slap had evolved into a movement. The hashtag Lux model was now used by employees across industries to share their own experiences and demand better workplace cultures. But the most powerful change was often invisible. The discrimination that didn't happen because managers remembered Ethan Kross's story. The respectful service given because employees understood their company's values. The dignity preserved because systems were now in place to protect it. Today, visiting Store 47 feels different. Customers of all backgrounds shop without fear of judgment. Employees treat everyone with genuine respect. The marble floors still gleam under crystal chandeliers, but now they reflect a culture of dignity rather than discrimination. Your voice matters. Your experiences matter. Your real-life stories can spark the next transformation. Have you witnessed discrimination in retail spaces, in your workplace, in your community? Share your stories in the comments below. Your Muslim stories, your life stories, all stories of injustice and triumph deserve to be heard. Subscribe to Justice Tales for more inspiring accounts of resilience, justice, and systemic change. Hit the notification bell, because every story of overcoming prejudice creates a blueprint for others to follow. Remember, real power isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. Together, our stories can change every store, every workplace, every space where dignity should never be negotiable. What would you have done in Amina's position? Tag someone who needs to see this transformation. Share your own experiences. Let's build a community where every voice creates the change we want to see.